Among the missing, 27 young girls from a Camp Mystic, one of many summer camps along the Guadalupe River. And this morning, another round of heavy rainfall triggered more flash flood emergencies in the region. Hundreds have been rescued, including this person who was clinging to a light pole. Officials say at least 27 people have died, 9 children and 18 adults. All right, returning now to our breaking news out of Central Texas. Officials confirming at least 27 people are dead and dozens more are missing following severe flash flooding in Kerr County. An intense rescue effort is underway right now after torrential downpours triggered the flooding along the Guadalupe River, raising the water level more than 20 feet in less than 2 hours. Our CNN affiliate KABB is on the ground in Hunt, Texas, showing us the catastrophic damage at one community store.
I want to walk you through, they didn't want to be on camera, but they walked me through this area and what it did look like. So they said that this was once all boarded up. This was all brick and now completely opened up. That just goes to show how fierce that storm was and how it powered through. I want you to walk with me down here closer so we can get a closer look inside the actual building. You could just see just the debris that is completely clinging on to the building. But if you take a closer look here inside, you could just see it is just completely packed in there, just all the debris that just swept right into the Hunt store here in Hunt. This was a staple, they were telling me. I did speak to the cashier who worked here for many years, and so he saw a lot of residents come into the area. I also want to mention that closer down here, again, there's lots of debris, branches down power lines. What I thought was just devastating, what they told me, was right over here is where the post office once was, if you believe it. I was completely shocked. He said, this is the brick from the post office. And as you can see, it's completely gone at this, it's no longer here. But what we did find was a Cassandra, what's her name tag, which was somewhere further where we first started. It's just, everything is scattered here. It's just devastating, just the amount of destruction this floodwater caused here in Hunt. So we're still speaking with residents here, and I did ask the cashier here about like rebuilding. You know, where do you go from here? And he says, you know, you just completely take this, you just rebuild from the start, bottom up.
And a local resident whose family lived in the area for more than 100 years says he's never seen anything like this.
This very well may be the worst flood Hunt has ever seen, because it would have started back up the South Fork. The devastation is unbelievable. How these kids survived in any of these camps along the river is nothing short of a miracle. But I grew up with this store. Like I said, I've danced here, I've been here, sat by the fireplace in a rocking chair and drank a beer. The devastation, there are just no words, Taylor, that I can say that describe what I'm seeing. My ranch, it was completely underwater. The water got that high. Just unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And again, 27 people, including 9 children, their bodies have been recovered. They died. And the search continues for 27 young campers, all from an all-girls camp. The searches continue for them. So there was a lot of rain yesterday. More rain is in the forecast. Let's bring in meteorologist Chris Warren. And while this forecast is not looking favorable for the search and rescue teams, I mean, this is what they're going to have to deal with.
It is. And there are some new areas this morning that were under flash flood warnings and flash flood emergencies. But I want to take you back and show you how this all came about. This is the radar estimated rainfall. So the scale up here shows the yellow 2 to 4, 4 to 6, in orange 6 to 10 inches of rain in red. So think about that. For this part of the country here in Texas, that's a whole summer's worth of rain in a few hours in some cases. So it's not just a point. We show you the whole radar estimated because there's counties in here, several counties, well over a dozen counties. And a lot of all of that rain, 4 to 10 inches of rain, going into eventually the same river, the Guadalupe River, and that brings essentially what was like a wave of water going down in the pre-dawn hours here of Friday. This is now the Friday radar as we look at the recap here, and it just kept going and going and going, and then going into this morning, we saw this happen overnight into early morning, and this now a little bit farther to the east of what we're seeing or what we saw over the past couple of days. This is now where, new this morning, flash flood emergency, flash flood warning, San Antonio up to, north of San Antonio up to Austin, and even north of there. So the bulk of the more intense moisture is moving off to the east, but through tonight and into tomorrow, we're going to watch a little bit of a break today and tonight, but then it's going to pick back up tomorrow. Here's 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Some of the same areas where the search and rescue and recovery will be ongoing. Once again, going to be dealing, Frederica, with some more showers and thunderstorms. But the unimaginable rain that we saw the past couple of days, that's not what we're looking at here. But these thunderstorms, they can be intense and they can cause some serious localized issues.
Yeah, we definitely see that. I mean, the power of that water is just unbelievable. All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Appreciate it. And we're continuing to follow this breaking news out of Texas. The death toll rising after that catastrophic flooding as officials urgently search for now dozens of missing children. All right, we're continuing our breaking news coverage of the deadly floods in Texas. Dozens of people are missing, including 27 young girls from a summer camp. Officials say 9 children are among the 27 people confirmed dead. Texas Congressman Chip Roy says they are still holding out hope for more survivors.
Nobody was talking about that level of water, but we'll figure all that out later. Right now, the key is just focusing on seeing if we can find anyone else surviving. We had this great story that I told about up here before about one of my kids' schoolmates that was found, and she was floating on a mattress for a couple hours in the middle of the night. So there are some heartwarming stories out of this, but obviously some devastation too.
At least 230 people have been rescued. CNN's Ed Lavandera is in Hunt, Texas. Ed, rescue crews are out. There are people, family members you mentioned, who have been out calling for their loved ones. I mean, tell me what's happening there.
Well, the mayor of Kerrville said this morning that today was going to be a hard day, and that is because as more of these search crews go out and fan out into areas like this within, perhaps a couple of 100 yards of the river itself, depending on where you are. These are the areas where the search and rescue operations are taking place, and we're seeing that up and down all along the river, because this river winds its way through the hill country terrain here, and you can see that this is an area where we would have been well underwater yesterday morning, Frederica. If you look into the treetops there, you can see, you might see a little speck of white there. I can't even make out exactly what that is, but it's clearly debris that was left in the trees as the water rushed through here. That is probably a good 30 to 40 feet high into those tree limbs there. Gives you a sense of just how much water, and then you see the damage and what it has done to the debris here, the force that the water was rushing through here. And that is what many of the victims many of them have told us they were caught off guard by this. Everything rose rather quickly. You can imagine the horror that was unfolding there at Camp Mystic, where hundreds of young girls scrambling to try to get to safety, and obviously a great deal of concern about whether or not all of them were able to make it. There are more than 24 of those young girls still missing. That is obviously one of the places that is getting an intense amount of attention here this morning as search and rescue teams fan out into the area. We've just met a man from Austin whose friend's daughter is missing. He was literally walking through this field to see if he could come across something to be able to bring some solace to his friend. So we're seeing a lot of that play out here, and you can also see just the damage, and you can see that the traffic that is starting to build up too as well. These are small one-lane road each way that takes you from Kerrville to Ingram to Hunt. These are the communities along the banks of the Guadalupe River. These are the communities where a lot of these summer camps have been held for decades and decades, and that is where many people come and often come to spend the July 4th weekend. And that is what we're seeing unfold here. And it's also one of the reasons, Frederica, why first responders are having a hard time pinpointing exactly how many people are missing at this point. Cell phone communication is very spotty, so it could be, that some people are just having a hard time communicating with loved ones, but there isn't, it doesn't appear at this point so far anyway, to be a real grasp on just how many people are missing, and search and rescue teams are working to get a handle on that. But, more than 24 have been confirmed dead so far, and residents, Frederica, tell us that they're very ones, the ones that are making these gruesome discoveries. One man told us it was behind a building, a general store, that they found the body of a young girl, another body just not too far away from that. So it's residents many times who are the ones calling these discoveries in to the first responders and emergency officials here on the ground.
So terrible, so tragic. All right, Ed Lavandera, we'll check back with you. Thank you so much. All right, welcome back. Right now, the Trump administration is vowing to send resources to Central Texas. At least 27 people are dead and dozens more remain missing, including 27 girls who remain unaccounted for at Camp Mystic, which is located along the Guadalupe River. Joining me right now is Louis Amstoy, the editor and publisher of the Kerr County Lead, which covers Kerr County, Texas. Louis, I'm glad you could be with us. So describe for me, where were you when you realized this is devastating? This storm is big. The consequences of it are much bigger than anyone realized at first.
Well, let me tell you, I live in South Kerrville, and all I heard was thunder and lightning all night, but I didn't hear any rain. And when I got up around 6:45, I had actually been called by people who were like, hey, this is going crazy, like it's between 6 and 6:30. So by the time I kind of woke up, I got in the car and I started driving down towards Louise Hayes Park, where the Guadalupe runs through. And I didn't know what I was looking at because the horizon was completely covered in water. And so at that point, the river was probably 25 or 30 feet above, flood stage at that point. And it was just below the Louise Hayes Park dam or bridge that goes across the bridge there. So I didn't expect it to be like that. That's for sure. It was stunning to see that.
And then tell me about this Guadalupe River and all that takes place along it. I mean, I read that the river is dotted with many centuries-old camps where people from all over the state and even beyond send their kids during the summers. They enjoy these camps. It's in some cases, it's been a, long tradition for some families. Now, I talked to some restaurant owners of Grape Juice. You are familiar with them. So I recognize there are some businesses, there are camps. What else takes place there along the river? Tell me about this community.
Well, I mean, the Guadalupe River to me is one of the most beautiful places, in the U.S. And it is, green and clear. We're kind of at the headwaters of the river. It has two forks, the north and the south fork, that kind of converge just below Ingram or into Ingram, and then the water flows down into the river through Kerrville, and we have several little dams along the way, one in Ingram, which is a popular destination, and then we have Nimitz Lake, which is the kind of the freshwater surface water for the city of Kerrville, and then it runs through the park. And there's all sorts of recreation down there. We have an extensive river trail system here in Kerrville that goes for about 6 or 7 miles. There's all sorts of recreation that interfaces with the river, all the way down into Comfort, into Kendall County, to the east of us. I mean, it is a destination place for many, many families, and especially on the 4th of July. And not only do you have the big camps that are here, there's about 18 of those historic camps, but you also have numerous RV spots and little places along the river. The biggest one that has been hit the hardest is HTR RV Park, which is right there on the river, off of Goat Creek Cutoff, where a significant amount of people are missing from. And then I found out this morning that there's another series of little lodges up in Ingram, between Ingram and Hunt, called Casa Bonita, and there were several people missing from there. So you can rent a place, you can stay at a camp, you can stay in an RV, and all the way to Hunt and through the Two Forks, there's all sorts of, second homes. There's a lot of, wealthy people in the Hunt area that retire there. So it's really a destination spot. And what makes this particularly difficult for us is that these camps are so ingrained in, the Texas culture here that people come to these camps year after year, generation after generation, and they are coming here because of the beauty of it and their connections to the community from all over the state, from Austin, from San Antonio, from Beaumont, from Houston, from Dallas. There's a lot of Houston people here that they revere the hill country.
And how incredibly devastating this is to now have this kind of tragedy. Confirmation of 27 bodies found, including 9 children, and now the search continues for 27 missing girls from one camp alone. And then you described the RV parks and lodges. I mean, it's difficult at this point to really know how many people remain missing, and that just underscores how absolutely tragic this is.
I don't know how many kids are missing from Camp Mystic. That number sounds a little high at this point, but I know that there are fatalities. I know that there are many missing people. I was at the press conference earlier, and Dalton Rice, the city manager of Kerrville, is adamant he's not going to give a list at this point. They just don't know. And what makes it challenging is that, again, you have all these RV parks here, these RV resorts, and you don't know who's here. And so, there's, only 50,000 people live in Kerr County. And, you could have probably another 10,000 probably staying in RV parks and the camps, all the way down to Center Point, which is on the eastern side of Kerr County.
Wow. All right. Well, that helps really paint the picture of this beautiful community of residence and enjoyment and respite for so many for so long. Louis Amestoy, thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. And of course, we're continuing to wish for the best possible outcome, even though right now it sounds really awfully tragic. Thank you so much. Hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Frederica Whitfield, and we continue to follow breaking news out of Central Texas. With this hour, a desperate search and rescue effort continues for dozens of people missing after floodwaters inundated an area north of San Antonio. Among the missing, 27 young girls from a Camp Mystic, one of many summer camps along the Guadalupe River. And this morning, another round of heavy rainfall triggered more flash flood emergencies in the region. Hundreds have been rescued, including this person who was clinging to a light pole. Officials say at least 27 people have died, 9 children and 18 adults. Among the fatalities, 9-year-old Janie Hunt, her mother confirming to CNN today that the young girl who was among the 24 missing from Camp Mystic has died. And also confirmed killed Jane Ragsdale. She was director at another girls' camp, Heart of the Hills, which was not in session at the time. Ragsdale is described as the heart and soul of that camp. We've got a team of correspondents and meteorologists covering these fast-moving developments. Let's begin with CNN's Ed Lavandera in hard-hit Hunt, Texas. Ed.
Hi, Frederica. Well, this morning as we were arriving here in Hunt, Texas, we were surveying some areas that were heavily damaged. And from just beyond this ledge that went down in toward the edge of the river, we heard a man calling out Joyce Catherine. Joyce Catherine happened several times, and we kind of followed the voice, and that's where we met Ty Baden. He is a father of 21-year-old Joyce Catherine Baden. His daughter had come out here to spend the July 4th weekend with 3 other friends in a home just along the river. And they lost contact with the group around 4 a.m. early Friday morning. Ty Baden has spent the morning walking. By the time we met him, he'd already walked along about a mile, had come across the body of another young victim and called it in to 911. And this is a father desperately searching for his 21-year-old daughter in hopes that he would stumble upon a miracle. Your daughter was here with two friends?
Yeah, three.
Three friends.
You know, and
So it's four of them.
correct. And she and the young man, they went to elementary school and high school together. And the young, one of her friends, Ella Cahill, that's her boyfriend, Aiden is. They went to school through high school, so they've known each other a long time. The other girl, her name is Reese. I can't remember her last name right now. She is Ella's roommate at UTSA, so we've never met her or her parents. But God bless her, and we pray that all four of them are still alive.
All four are missing.
Yes, they're all missing, and you know, it's been 4 o'clock yesterday morning that we were told that, you know, they were on the phone with Aiden's dad, who they own the house where they were. It was a very nice house, no longer there. And Aiden said, hey, you know, I've got to go. I got to help Ella and Reese. So he gave the phone to Joyce Catherine. Joyce Catherine said, they just got washed away. And then a few seconds later, the phone went dead, and that's all we know. So we presume that she got washed away as well. And if you go back to where the house is, it's not a good sign. And that's why I was telling you, my son and I are walking, and I thought it was a mannequin. It was a little boy, about 8 or 10 years old, and he was dead. So we just...
You saw that this morning?
Yes. So we you know, we're just walking and doing the same thing we were doing. Look, you know, when we stumbled across him. But hopefully we can find our children, our daughter and her friends, alive. So anyway, I ask you if you would pray, and whoever watches this thing, pray. We got together and picked up our son and came over here, and we waited around at a center, and God bless them, they're doing a great job. It's in Ingram, Texas, at the elementary school, and they're kind of like the place where all the survivors are brought. And we were hoping that we would hear our daughter and friends' names called, but they never did call. So we said, this morning we're going to come out and try to find them ourselves.
I mean, you're walking through this mess, hoping for a miracle.
Amen. Keep the faith. That's all we can do. So that's all I got, Ed. And thank you.
Can you tell us about your daughter?
Yes, she's a beautiful girl, and I think I sent you a picture. Just a wonderful girl. And couldn't ask for a better daughter. All through school, it's just easy, you know, no shenanigans or anything like that. I mean, she was a normal girl. We would have fun, but yes, we loved her dearly.
And Frederica, what just I found gut-wrenching is, as we were winding down the interview there, as he continued the search, he told me about how he read a book years ago about a father during World War II whose child had been in a house that had been bombed, and that the father spent days and days combing through the rubble trying to search for his son and never gave up. And after days of combing through the rubble, that the man during World War II found his kid. And he just told me, he goes, I hope I'm that guy today.
Gosh.
And that's
that's powerful.
rather stunning moment as you think about what that poor man and his family are going through today.
I hope he's that guy too. All right, Ed Lavandera, thank you so much. Betsy Klein is in New Jersey traveling with the president, where they are committing to help the people there in this search and rescue efforts and recovery.
Certainly, and as we hear some of the stories and see faces and names of those that are impacted, the White House is watching this incredibly closely, including the threat of additional flash flooding today. But it's really an all-hands-on-deck response here, particularly from the federal government. They have sent in the Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, as well as the U.S. Coast Guard. And also, DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said a few moments ago that they have have sent in Border Patrol agents to help in any way they can with some of their expertise in this area, just all hands on deck response. But the president has expressed his concern about this. He has pledged federal support. He said it's terrible, it's shocking. He also issued a statement to social media a few hours ago, the president saying, quote, "The Trump administration is working with state and local officials on the ground in Texas in response to the tragic flooding that took place yesterday. Our Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, will be there shortly. Melania and I are praying for all of the families impacted by this horrible tragedy. Our brave first responders are on site doing what they do best. God bless the families and God bless Texas." Now, we know that 27 people are dead, including 18 adults and 9 children. 27 campers are currently missing. We do expect Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem to land soon. She is going to be present for this key 3:30 p.m. Eastern press conference alongside Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Congressman Chip Roy, as well as Senator John Cornyn and others to provide a few more updates on what they are learning at this stage. The First Lady also weighing in here. She said in a post to social media, quote, "My heart goes out to the parents in Texas during this difficult time. I am holding you in my thoughts and sending prayers for strength, comfort, and resilience." Vice President J.D. Vance as well says, quote, "Our nation's heart breaks for the victims in Texas and their families. Just an incomprehensible tragedy. I hope everyone affected knows they're in the prayers of my family and millions of Americans." Of course, incomprehensible, I think, is the right word here. We are seeing Coast Guard helicopters punching through some of these storms, trying to help with search and rescue efforts. It's really very challenging circumstances. It's also worth noting the president has been deeply critical of FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration. That is something he says that he wants to wind down by the end of this year's hurricane season. He wants to shift responsibility to state and local governments there. But we still don't know the full extent of this federal response, what's going to be needed going forward, if there will be a request for additional aid from Congress. We don't know if President Trump has spoken with Governor Abbott at this stage. The White House has issued a lid, which means that we do not expect to see the president anymore today. He is at his home in Bedminster, New Jersey. We also don't know yet, Frederica, if the president will visit.
All right, Betsy Klein, thanks so much. Bring it to us when you learn. So while the search for survivors continues, CNN meteorologist Chris Warren breaks down how much rain has already inundated the area and what continues to remain a threat.
Frederica, this is the amount of rain that came mainly in hours, but from Thursday through Friday, more than a summer's worth of rain for these areas falling here. And that would be in the orange to the red area. And it's not just that a couple areas had that, some up to around a foot of rain. The fact that so many counties had that amount of water draining into one drainage basin, into the Guadalupe River, creating a catastrophic scene and results that we saw. As far as the rain goes and the threat for more, we are expecting more showers, more thunderstorms. We've been tracking active flash flood warnings throughout the day, and the threat's not over. Still seeing more showers, with the rain picking up again tomorrow morning and lasting here and there. So more scattered about showers and thunderstorms throughout the day on Sunday before things considerably dry out late on Sunday and into Monday. Frederica.
All right, Chris Warren, thanks so much. And we continue our breaking news out of Texas. A desperate search for survivors underway in Central Texas after catastrophic flooding, 27 fatalities, and more than 25 girls still missing from a camp along the Guadalupe River.